Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma inna nas'aluka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbuk wa hubba amalin yuqarribuna ila hubbik. Ya Allah, we ask you to make whatever knowledge we learn in this gathering beneficial for our hearts, beneficial for our hereafter. Whatever we learn, put it in the sadaqah jariyata of Sheikh Ahmad, bamba, the author of the book we're studying, and all of our teachers who we benefit from, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Give them jaza al-hasana. All of our family members who have passed away, give them the highest levels of firdaus, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we're continuing, moving on to another chapter of Sheikh Ahmad bamba rahimahullah's massaliku-l. It's our 11th class, mashallah. And we're just moving straight through. Actually, up till now, we've only just finished Sheikh Ahmad bamba rahimahullah, his introduction. And today, inshallah ta'ala, we're actually starting, which is chapter 1 of massaliku-l. So up till now, we were literally just studying all of his introductory things just before he could actually give us, so basically, we just had the appetizer. You know what I mean? Basically, he just gave us the appetizer, and now the main course is coming, and he's going to actually start breaking down. And subhanAllah, one of the lines that was probably the line which inspired me when I was talking to one of the brothers about the book we were going to do, when we were talking, one of the lines that we're going to do today is what really inspired me to choose this line, choose this poem to study, because of how deep this is really connected in our lives and how much it can really change our spirituality and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the next chapter that we're starting, he calls al-babul awwal fil khalqi. He says the first chapter regarding the khalq, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Sheikh Ahmad bamba rahimahullah, when he talks about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in our last chapter, it's beautiful that we're studying this now, because the whole last chapter was about serving the creation. The whole last chapter was about understanding that through service of the creation, that's your way to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by serving people. And that was what we talked about deeply last week, that was the week of serving people. And inshallah, that inspired us. Now this week, he takes a different perspective on the creation, because he sees that the creation actually becomes one of the primary things that stops us in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he'll explain that, inshallah ta'ala. So there's two things he's going to talk about tonight, inshallah. Number one thing we're going to talk about is what's called hawa, or desires. And number two, shaitan. He's going to explicitly break down the kaid, or the makr, or the ploys or plots of shaitan, and how we respond to those. And he's also going to talk about the hawa, which is the lower desires, and how we're supposed to interact with those, and how they can be a hindrance to our spirituality. So he says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. He says, i'lam waqana Allahu kulla mahlaki wa qadana turran li khayr al-maslaki an iltifata abid lil-khalqi تحجبه بينه وبين الحق ومنه ما يهوى وشيطان رجيم فليعصم كلا منهما فاستقيم. First three lines, he says, understand and know. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect me and you from all places of destruction. Ameen. وَقَادَنَا تُرًّا, and may he guide us gently to the best path. May he guide us gently to the best path. The beautiful things he says, turran, because if someone forces you to the best path, sometimes just because of the force behind it, you don't want to be on that path. So when we're being guided or guiding other people, it's important that we're gentle, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Musa, when you go to Pharaoh, what do? قُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Speak to him with a gentle word. So he says, وَقَادَنَا تُرًّا لِخَيْرِ الْمَسْلَكَ, and may Allah guide us gently to that path to that good path. Ameen. He says, أَنَّ الْإِلْتِفَاتَ عَابِدٍ لِلْخَلْقِ. He says, and this is the line, he says that a worshipper's constant concern and the preoccupation to look side to side at everyone else, لِلْخَلْقِ, at all of the creation, يحجبك بينه وبين الخلق بين الحق. It's the thing that will come as a hijab or a barrier between you and al-haq, which means Allah, the truth. What is he saying in this line? He's like, one of the problems that I know I have and that we have is that we're constantly worried about what people think. We're constantly looking over our shoulder like, what are they saying? What are they thinking? What do they think about me? And so he says, أَنَّ الْإِلْتِفَاتِ عَابِدْ لِلْخَلْقِ. Your constant preoccupation and iltifat. Iltifat in Arabic means when you keep looking at something. Keep looking at something. So he's like, our constant preoccupation with worrying about what everyone else is doing, this is the primary thing. He says, yahjub. Yahjub means like hijab, like a barrier. Between what? بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الْحَقِّ. It is the primary barrier between us and the truth. And the truth he means? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-haq. He says, وَمِنْهُمَا يَحْوَى وَشَيْطَانٌ رَجِيمٌ فَلْيَعْصِمْ كُلَّ مِنْهُمَا فَاسْتَقِيمٌ. He says, and from the creation, there's two things you got to be aware of. From the creation, there's two things you have to be aware of. Al-hawa. What does hawa mean? It means the lower desires. It means the lower desires. The Arabic word for yahwa actually means to fall down. And the reason Imam Ghazali, he says, no one ever was humiliated or debased in this dunya except it was a result of their desires. He says if you study every person that was humiliated and brought to a low place, it's only one thing that brought them there, and it was their desires. He says, look at the beginning, Iblis, Shaitan. Desire right there. Ana khayrun min, kibr, arrogance. Then look at Hawa and Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. Adam and Eve, what was the thing? That desire for something brought them down. Then look at Qabil and Habil, Cain and Abel. Like constantly this Hawa is the thing that Shaitan is using to pull us down. And so what he's teaching us here is he's like, there's two things I want you to focus on. Your Hawa, your desires. That's something that's going to destroy you if you don't control it. It's going to bring you down. It will debase you and humiliate you. Some people were at the pinnacle of whatever. And because of that desire, they were just brought down because of that. And so he says, Al-Hawa was Shaitan Rajim. And Satan. I mean, that's part of our Aqidah. We believe that Shaitan is an enemy. And his whole, everything he's about is about bringing us down and destroying us. So we need to understand him on a deeper level. فَلْيَقْسِمْ كُلًّا مِنْهُمَا. He's like, if you protect these two things, Hawa and Shaitan, يَسْتَقِيمُ. You'll be straight. You'll be good. He says, وَعَلَيْكَ وَأَقْلَكَ اجْعَلْ قَائِدَ الْهَوَى وَلَا تَعْكِسْ فَتَحْوِي غَضَبَ مَوْلَى عَلَى. Again, what does he say? وَأَقْلَكَ اجْعَلْ قَائِدَ الْهَوَى وَلَا تعكس فتحوى غضب مولى على فالمؤمن الذي إلى مولاه يكون ذا انتقاد لا هواه توبى لمن يقوده حجاه دون هواه لرضا مولاه. He says, what's the defense against your aql? What's the defense against your aql? He says, what against your hawa? Sorry, I just ruined it, but anyways. What's the defense against your desires? He says, وَعَقَلَكَ, your intellect, إِجْعَلْ, make that قَائِدَ الْهَوَى, the guide of the desire. What he's saying here is don't let the desire be the thing that leads you, but rather let the intellect or the aql be the thing that's controlling the desire. That's the way you find that success over the hawa. For many of us, and especially the society we live in, what's rational, what makes sense isn't what we're doing, what we're taught to follow. We're taught to follow that which feels good and that which my desire just wants to do. And so that's what he's explaining. He's like, how do you control that hawa? He says, make sure your intellect, your aql, your rationality is the thing guiding the hawa, not the other way around. Wala ta'kis. He says, don't do it like mun'akis. Don't flip it over. Where the hawa is leading you, the desire is leading you wherever. So in a book called The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, he says that for the majority of people, the hawa is what's making the decision. He gives it an example. This is a beautiful example. You might want to write this in your notes. He says it's like the elephant and the elephant rider. Now this example is very similar to Imam Ghazali's example, but he says it's like the elephant and the rider on the back of the elephant. He says it's supposed to be that the elephant rider is leading the elephant. But he says the reality, and he says the elephant rider is like your intellect. Like that should be leading. And the elephant that it's riding is like your lower nuts, your lower desires. So ideally speaking, when I see that, I always use bag of Doritos, whatever. When I see that bag of Doritos, it should be like my aql kicks in and it's like, no, bro, we're like cutting back on carbs right now, right? But then that elephant's like, spicy though, like, that savory, like I'm the savory dude. So it's like, yeah, go for it. What he says is this is profound. Dr. Jonathan Haidt in The Righteous Mind, he says that majority of the time, the elephant chooses and the rationale simply becomes the lawyer defending the choice of the elephant. You feel me? Like you didn't choose what was rationally good for you. You chose what the elephant wanted to do, and your rationality simply became the lawyer defending the choice of the elephant. And so then the aql isn't leading. He's like, instead of the aql making a decision, it's just the spokesman. Like the dude spokesman for Trump, he just has to defend stupid stuff sometimes, right? Or whoever, whatever. He just has to defend. He has no saying over what he does. He just literally has to become a defense for whatever the choice was. So that's a beautiful example that Dr. Jonathan Haidt gives in The Righteous Mind, where the aql should be leading instead of the elephant or the lower nafs leading. We want the aql to be in charge. And it's amazing he gives that example because Imam Ghazali rahimahullah gave the exact same example. He just said it's like a horseback rider on a horse, and that he's supposed to be controlling the horse to go where he wants it to go. So what does he say? And look, Islam is beautiful because like before I accepted Islam, like rationality and religion didn't always line up. And many times we were taught to like suppress the intellect. It wasn't like the main thing that should guide you. And the moment you open the Quran, one of the things that should stick out to you a lot is أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do they not think? Do they not think? Do they not think? Like over and over and over again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you think? Why is aql so important? The aql or intellect is so important because here's the deal. This is very important to understand. The aql is seen as the thing that's supposed to lead you to Allah. It's supposed to, like you're supposed to be able to look at the beautiful sunset and from that deduce that there must be a creator that I should love and worship and devote myself to. I mean, if you want to see the beauty, just follow my man's Instagram page, right? You want to see the beauty of creation, man. Just look at the beauty. He's like, from that we're supposed to deduce Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The aql comes to Allah. But here's the deal. Once the aql or intellect leads us to Allah, then revelation by nature means that which the intellect didn't have access to. Y'all with me on this one? Alright, my wife was like, nah man, you ain't man. So check it. From the Islamic perspective, we keep getting this message, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you use your intellect. And so the intellect is by design supposed to lead us to the recognition of Allah. It's supposed to lead us to the recognition of what is good, what is harmful, right? Like what's good should be aql and you should recognize that. But here's the deal. Once your intellect brings you to Allah, at that point is where we submit the intellect. Once we reach Allah through the intellect, at that point is where we submit. Why? Because the whole concept of revelation means to reveal. Reveal what? Unseen, unknown. Which my aql could not reach on its own. But the main point though, is what he's teaching us here is make sure your aql intellect is in front or steering this ship, not your hawa. Not your hawa. Not your lower desire. That's the primary thing we're being taught here. So he says, وَجَعَلْ وَأَقْلَكَ إِجْعَلْ قَائِدَ الْهَوَى. As long as you make your aql the qa'id of, or the leader, guide of hawa, you'll be good. وَلَا تَعْكِسْ. Don't flip it over. Don't flip it over. فَتَحْوَى غَضَبَ مَوْلَى عَلَى. You flip it over, you'll bring the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. And as I said before, anyone who fell from any position, it was because of that hawa. فَالْمُؤْمِنَ الَّذِي إِلَى مَوْلَاهُ. He says the mu'min that مَوْلَاهُ يَكُونُ ذَا لَا هَوَاهُ tuba. Right, important word, tuba. Right? He says, glad tidings to the one who leads their hawa to Allah. Like they don't let their hawa lead them, they lead the hawa to Allah. لِمَنْ يَقُودُ hijahu. He lets his intellect guide him and pull him. Duna hawahu, not his lower desire. Lirida maulahu. Why is this so important, yo? I'm telling you, if you look at our younger generation, everything they're being taught is you do what feels good to you, yo. You do what feels good to you. Who are you to tell me not to do this? It feels good to me, that's it. Once you understand that's the primary message, that's the idea of a safe space. That's the idea. It feels good to you, do it, go ahead. We're like, whoa, wait, what does that actually mean? What if I want to do something harmful to me? Well, what is harm? So if you go to Stewart's harm principle, what's the harm principle? What's harm principle?
As long as it doesn't harm anybody.
As long as it doesn't harm anyone else, go ahead and do it. But from the Islamic perspective, that doesn't make any sense. Because first of all, what's harm? What's harm? Like we understand that Allah teaches us what is harmful. Right? And so we gain that understanding of harm and benefit first and foremost from Allah. The other is that the ethos of the society, just to leave someone to do whatever is not going to harm anyone else, that's not an Islamic perspective. But many of us grew up in that, and it's just like, well, my hawa should leave me, my desire should leave me. Y'all feel me on this point? It's very important to understand that harm principle isn't something we really like hold deep inside. We don't look at it that way. We understand right and wrong from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our intellect should guide what is good to what is good and give us the ability to follow, and our intellect should tell us what is wrong and give us the ability to stay away, and where the intellect can't pick it up, revelation is what tells us the rest of it. That's our whole worldview right there, right? Yeah. So look what he says. So this was his basic breakdown of your intellect's relationship with the hawa. The desire doesn't inform my action. My intellect tells me what's good for me, and I'm constantly fighting my hawa to do what the intellect says to do. So it's a constant battle. He's going to come back to the nafs in a minute, but let's move forward. He says, أَمَّا الرَّجِيمُ فَنَعُوذُ بِالرَّحِيمِ مِنْهُ وَمِنْ كُلِّ مُخَالِفٍ مُلِيمٍ لِأَنَّهُ مُحَارِبٌ فِي كُلِّ حِينٍ وَلَا يُصَالِهُ وَلَا هُوَ يَلِينَ. He says, now I'm going to change the topic to shaitan. Remember, he said we had two enemies we got to focus on. What were they? The desire and Satan, shaitan. He says, Amma Rajim, as for the outcasted one. Rajim, the one who was outcast. Shaitan al-Rajim. فَنَعُوذُ بِالرَّحِيمِ. We seek refuge through Rahim against Rajim. Rahim means the most merciful. Rajim means the outcast. So we seek refuge with the most merciful from the Rajim, from the outcasted one. Minhu, from him. وَمِن كُلِّ مُخَالِفٍ مُلِيمٍ. And every fault-finding transgressor. We seek refuge from Allah from them. But look what he says next. He says, لِأَنَّهُ مُحَارِبٌ فِي كُلِّ حِينٍ. He says, because this enemy of yours is always, at every moment, at war with you. Muharib. He says, at war with you at every moment. وَلَا يُصَالِحُ وَلَا هُوَ يَلِينَ. He doesn't enter into like a sulh. Sulh means like a treaty. Shaitan never enters into a treaty with you. Never. And he says, وَلَا يَلِينُ. He doesn't let up. It's just constant battle. He says, وَكُلَّمَا سَيَرْتَهُ سَرِيعًا. Anytime you slam shaitan down, قَامَ إِلَيْكَ بِالْأَذَى سَرِيعًا. He jumps back up, ready, like, let's go. Like, that's the nature of shaitan. You're not going to beat him that way. So he says, وَلَا لَهُ شُغُلٌ سِوَى مُحَارَبَةٍ لِكُلِّ عَابِدٍ بِلَا مُجَانَبَةٍ. He's like, and he has no other job. His only occupation is you. The Prophet ﷺ said that every person born is born with a company shaitan with them. Who, when that person is heedless of God, when he's heedless of Allah, that shaitan is whispering to him. And so what he's explaining here is he wants us to understand what Allah said very clearly, إِنَّهُ عَدُوٌ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌ مُبِينٌ. He's a clear enemy against you. So what he's trying to explain to us right now is you need to be aware of the tricks and how he comes at you. And the first thing he said Now look, Imam Ghazali explains this. How do we fight against shaitan? This is extremely important. How do we fight against shaitan? Number one way of fighting is what we do all the time before we recite Quran. What is that? Which is to seek refuge with Allah from shaitan. So he's going to say later that, listen, shaitan is like a dog that Allah let loose. And he's like, when the dog is loose, you just call the owner. You don't sit there and fight the dog. So he's going to give that example that with shaitan, we don't sit there and try to fight him. Because if you try to fight him, he's been fighting a lot more people for a lot longer than you. And he has a lot more wisdom than you. So you don't sit there and try to fight him. Number one, you seek refuge. But he said, if you seek refuge and you're still tested, he's like, I'm going to give you the primary tricks that he uses so that you can be aware against them. So this is extremely beautiful because he gives very, very clear tricks that shaitan uses. So number one, the stages of shaitan's deception. Stage number one. يَأْمُرُهُ بِتَرْكِ ثُمَّ إِنْ عَمِلْ أَمَرَهُ بِعَجْلٍ لِكَيْ يُخِلْ. So he says this. The first thing shaitan does is try to get you not to do the action. Right? So it's like halaqah is cold. You're like, man, it's 40 degrees, man. Nah, I ain't going, man. It's freezing. Like, first thing he tries to do is get you not to do the action. That's the first thing. As hard as he can, he's trying to not to get you to do the action. Now, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says, now if you fight that and you actually do the action, what does he do next? What does he do next? Amarahu bi ajalin. He orders you to do it quickly. So you finally got up to pray, and then now you're praying, you're like, dang, like, what was you doing, man? Like, you were moving really quick, right? So he says, if you actually fight the first level of shaitan's trick, the first level is just don't do that righteous action. If you get past that, he's like, he orders you to ujab. Now, Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, I'm going to break from Sheikh Ahmad Bamba because Imam Ghazali gives a similar breakdown. He says, so I need you to like make a side column in your notes and be like, Ghazali's breakdown because it's slightly different than Ahmad Bamba's breakdown. But it overlaps. So they both say, he starts by telling you don't do it. Don't do that action. Just don't. Stop. Don't do it. He tries his best to keep you. Don't go to the masjid. Don't do that thing. Don't give that charity. Just stop. Then, Ghazali says stage 2 is not to make you do ajila, to rush it. You know what stage 2 is? Procrastination. He's like, yeah, do it. Yeah, let's do it. Tomorrow, subhanAllah. So Imam Ghazali, he says, when shaitan says tomorrow, say to him, this is like gold, yo. This is what you say. Like, he says, say to shaitan, Laysa ajli biyadi. My time ain't in my hands, yo. Ala anni in sawaftu amal al-yawm ila ghadin. If I delay today's action to tomorrow, when will I do tomorrow's action? Like Ibn al-Askandari, he says, listen, every day has a haqq on you, a right. If you push today's right till tomorrow, then when do you do tomorrow's right? After that, then you keep just delaying it. No, this is beautiful. Ghazali says, number one, he says, don't do it. Stop. Shaitan's like, don't do the action. Then you're like, no, we're doing it. He's like, all right, yeah. Let's do it. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. And you know the word in Arabic is tasweef. The word in Arabic for procrastination is tasweef. You know what it comes from? Sofa. The word sofa in Arabic means sofa af'alu. Sofa af'alu. Sa'af'alu ghadan. And so the word tasweef just comes from the word sofa. Yeah, tomorrow. Soon. And you know, soon never comes. Right? So he says, if shaitan tells you, wait till tomorrow, then say to him, yo, my time ain't in my hands. Number one, argument against him. Who told you I got tomorrow? Number two, what do we say to him? Number two is like, if I delay this till tomorrow, then when am I going to do tomorrow's haqq? I'm throwing off every day's haq or every day's right through this. Then Ghazali says what Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says, which is stage number 3 for Ghazali, but 2 for Bamba, which is 2 is, come on, y'all. To do it quickly. To do it quickly. He says, if shaitan wants you to do it fast, he says, say to him, بِأَنْ قَالَ, say to him this, قَلِيلُ الْعَمَلِ مَعَ تَمَامٍ خَيْرٌ مِنْ كَثِيرٍ مَعَ النُّقْصَانِ. A little bit of action with like perfection is better than a lot of action with imperfection. That's all you say back to him. Do it quick, do it quick. No. A little bit with perfection is better than a lot with imperfection. And that's the reply that you give back. So now let's look at what Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says next. He says that يَأْمُرُهُ بِتَرْكِ ثُمَّ إِنْ عَمِلْتَ أَمَرَهُ بِعَجَلٍ لِكَيْ يُخِلْ. He says he'll tell you not to do it. Then if you do the action, Imam Ghazali added tasweef in there, procrastination. He says if you do the action, he'll tell you to do it quickly. فَإِنْ أَبَى, if you refuse, no, you beat this, you came to class, right? So you're like, no, I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to rush. What do you think is the next move? No, close. He says, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says, Amara bir riyah. He tells you to show off in the action. Because now I'm doing it slow. And we all know, remember this. I'll make it very easy for you. Shaitan wants one of two things. Either you don't do it, or you do it and he ruins it. So the thing about us beginning to practice deen is, in the beginning, it's just like, just do it. Just do it. Just do the action. But what we have to understand is shaitan doesn't, at first it's like, don't, just do it. After that, we're worried about what? It actually counting. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what he's worried about, he's like, all right, you did the action. He's like, I'm good still. Because there's a lot of people who did a lot of actions going to hell. A lot of righteous actions were not accepted, guys, because of the intention. So shaitan's main 2 things is what? Number 1, don't do it. And so he's going to try hard. Then you fought that. Then he's like, all right, you're doing it. Now I'm going to come harder at you. And so Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah, he says, فَإِنْ أَبَى أَمَرَ بِالرِّيَاءِ. So he says, the next thing he's going to tell you is riyah. Now the beautiful thing is Sheikh Ahmad Bamba rahimahullah, each one of these things he's going to actually break down for us. He's going to actually break them down, each one of them. فَإِنْ نَجَا مِنْ ذَاكَ بِالْإِخْفَاءِ. If you are protected from that, which number is this? There you go, thank you. Nuanced, right? Okay, 4 for Ghazali. It was 3rd for Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. If you are protected from this, how are you going to protect yourself? He said, ذَاكَ بِالْإِخْفَاءِ. The way you're going to protect yourself from that riyah is you hide the deed. You hide the deed. The key, brothers and sisters, is get to the point where you hide your good deeds the way people hide their bad deeds. You feel me? You hide your good deeds the way other people hide their bad deeds. That's when you know you're accelerating in your spirituality. Because it's special. You know what I'm saying? You don't always, we share stuff, everything nowadays anyway, but I mean, normally there's some things you don't want to share with people. It's just you and that person. Why you huff like that, man? No, it's just you and that person, right? I'm just messing with you. Yeah. So, but that's the concept. When you start developing that relationship with Allah, then it's like, no, I don't need to share. I don't want to share this. This is between me and my Mawla. This is between me and my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, if you get past that, what's next? Well, let's look at what Ghazali says is next. Imam Ghazali's number 4 is, guess what? The exact same thing. He says that if you get past doing it quick, the very next step is he's going to make you mura'atan lid-nas. You'll do the action for showing off to people. So he says, what are you going to say to shaitan to fight that inclination to show off? Remember, this comes to your head. You got to reply to that. He says, say to him, أَفَلَا تَكْفِينِي رُؤْيَةِ اللَّهِ. Is it not enough that Allah saw me? Just ask yourself that question. Is it not enough that Allah saw the action? Is it not enough that Allah saw me do this action? Yes, enough. Yes, enough. Yeah, it is. That's it. That's your reply. When he's like, okay, show off. No, hold on. Is it not enough that Allah saw me? Okay, cool. Now the next one is the same. Sheikh Ahmad Bamba and Ghazali rahimahullah, they say the next one is the exact same. What is it? He says that his words are Amarahu bil ujabi thumma hakada hatta yukhilla sa'ya ra'il ma'khada. He says, if you do the action, first of all, you fought him on the first stage. You're like, I'm going to do it. Then he's like, do it tomorrow. You're like, nah, I already know that game. I'm not doing it tomorrow. I'm doing it right now. Then he's like, oh, you're doing it now? Oh, let everyone know you're doing it. Share it. Right? You're like, no, I'm doing it for Allah. I don't need people to see it. Guess what happens next? The word in Arabic is called ujab, which is conceit or vanity over the action. You become proud of the action you just did. Now, you may be like, yeah, I'm happy I did the action. That's kind of dangerous, though. Because you need to understand two things that you need to understand. First of all, it was Allah's bounty upon you. Second of all, I didn't do enough. Hold on, did y'all hear me on that? I didn't do enough. When you feel that this action I did amazing. All of a sudden, what happens now is you have the opposite mentality. The mentality that we have when serving people is I didn't do enough for you. The mentality we have when serving Allah is I didn't do enough for Allah. Not that I now look at my action and be like, wow, look what I did. That's the exact opposite. So he says, if you get past riyah, then the very next thing that shaitan brings in your head is this concept of ujab, which is like, wow, look at what I did. Look at what I did. Look at what I did. And you have to protect yourself from that. You have to protect yourself. Make some room, inshallah. Come on, y'all. We read the hadith 20 times. Okay. So he says, Amarahu bil ujabi thumma hakada. He says he's going to tell the person, yo, be proud of what you did. Wow. So now, literally, shaitan is saying to you, wow, you're really good. Wow. Wow. And you're like, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I am. He says, hakada. This is his style. Hatta yukhilla sa'ya. Until he destroys your efforts. Why? Listen, man. Once you're impressed with yourself, you stop improving. So that's what yukhilla sa'ya. Once you're impressed, oh, I'm good, then you stop improving. So he's like, once I convince you that you're good and you're doing good, then my objective is gained because now you stop your progress. He says, Ra'il ma'khada. Yo, be careful. Watch this. فَرَاقِبَنْهُ كُلَّ وَقْتٍ. He says, now listen, he doesn't give any more. Imam Ghazali drops one more on us. Y'all want the Ghazali joint? Mm-hmm. All right. Imam Ghazali says there's actually two more levels. Two more levels. He says the next one is that, and he says this is the most like slick one. He says, yeah, do the action quietly. And one day Allah's going to make everyone know about it. Yeah, do it quiet. So now he's actually telling you hide your actions before an even deeper deceptive thing. Now you're doing everything and you're like, yeah, one day people are going to know about this. Maybe when I die, I'm going to die and then everyone's going to know that he used to pray first saf every salah. Something, I don't know. Right? They're going to go to his wife like, what was special? She's going to say, he used to wake up for tahajjud every day. Like, seriously, like, that's your intention now. So this is crazy, right? Like, shaitan is never stopping. Like, now he's telling you, do the action quiet, and deep inside of you, I want you to ask yourself, like, deep inside, he's like, yeah, but one day somebody's going to find out. And then you got it. SubhanAllah. He says, this is dangerous, so watch that. So what do you say? I love Ghazali because he tells you what to say to shaitan. He's like, if this happens, say to shaitan, say, Innama ana Abdullah. Say, yo, I'm a slave of Allah. Wa huwa sayyidi. He's my master. In sha'a adhara wa in sha'a akhfa. If he wants, he'll make my action known. If he wants, he'll keep it quiet. whatever. My job is to act. That's it. My job is to do action. Last stage of Ghazali, of Shaitan. I mean, like, don't you feel more woke though? Like you feel more like I already know your, like when you know somebody's you know, like game plan. It's like, you know, now whenever the Ravens play, like, you know the quarterback's running the ball. Like, you know what I'm saying, right? We already know. You can't stop him still, but whatever. The point I'm saying is, like, you should leave today's class with like a deeper level where you like peep game on Shaitan. And you're like, yo, I know what you're gonna do. And now, don't let psychologically, you should be able to peep it inside your head now, if you know what I mean. Like, you'll hear these things and you're like, dang. You understand what I'm saying, right? So what's the last stage? The last is like deep. We're like, these are like very, very, very pious people. Okay? Shaitan says to you, لا حاجة لك إلى هذا العمل لأنك إن خلقت سعيدا. He says, man, you a made man. You're a righteous soul. You don't even need to do this actions no more. You're above the action now. The last stage, Shaitan. Again, this is like way up there, guys. Like, you're so righteous, you don't even need to do the action no more. Like, you made it already. And then he says the reply is, no. I'm a slave of Allah. My job is to work until I'm done. That's it. Whether you know what I'm saying? He's saying you're above the action now. And then you just fight against that. No, my role is to keep working. Okay? So Imam Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, he then moves forward. Any questions on these, yo? Any questions? Any questions? No? Oh my God. Alright, so what does he say next? He says, فَرَاقِبَنْهُ كُلَّ وَقْتٍ. Yo, you have to watch him closely all the time. وَزَمَن, all the time. بِالْحَرْبِ وَالدِّفَاعِ. You got to fight back. You got to push back. كَيْ تُكْفَى الْمِحَنِ. To protect yourself from his trials. فَدَافِي عَنْهُ إِنْ أَتَى مُوَسْوِسًا. If he comes to you whispering, so push back. بِذِكْرِ رَبِّنَا تَكُنْ مُقَدَّسًا. By remembering Allah. So what he's referring to here is the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in a hadith. He said that